interpretation of his comment would be he would treat it just as if he would treat public comment, but you can ask Mr. Bradshaw and he can answer that before you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just to clarify, I am not opposed to interaction. I will answer the questions that I can answer. Again, without specific people and their counsel being present, it would be remiss to do that. But if you have a question about a specific policy or a process on how things should be working, I don't see any reason why we can't have that discussion.
anyone else? John?
The proper thing to do is to wait till November 12th, right? Just give me a and it's already been discussed thus far. Just looking at our policy, looking at the rights of the individuals that this is involved with, it just makes sense. Having said that, there's a lot of people here that want to be heard. I have no problem voting no on the motion right now, provided that no names, no job performance, everybody's courteous, and if you want to step up and talk, you can. But I would say at that point, if it goes south and it's unprofessional and it affects, everything from names of students to names of district workers, then I think it should be shut down immediately. But I'll go ahead and vote down the current motion so we can hear what you have to say.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm extremely reluctant to proceed based only on the fact that what just took place 10 minutes ago. My rights were violated. Okay, my rights were violated 10 minutes ago.
Oh my God. That guy's funny.
And now it's being belittled. I can't agree to move forward on a process that, in my estimation, has already gone south. I can't. I'm not going to vote in favor of this. I am in favor of continuing it to November 12th for hearing public comment. Thank you.
Anyone else? Now, so again, so we're clear. What I've listened to and what I've listened to from Mrs. McBride and from Adam and Brian and everyone else, it's a quandary that we sit here, especially at the time of year it is and the point it's at.
November 12th is a holiday. Does that have any impact on scheduling of the school? Not to interrupt.
It's a Tuesday.
Our next scheduled workshop would be
You're right. It's Veterans Day. It's being observed on the 12th. We have our meeting on the 13th, I believe.
Anyway, where we sit today in this scenario, as we have in many scenarios over the course of our term here, it's very easy to sit and say I will do whatever anybody asks me to do. What's hard to do as an elected official is do what you believe is truly right for the overall process. When I think of things that I've listened to throughout this election year, and how many times I've listened to people say, I'll give you that, I'll do this, I'll give you, yeah, you're right, we should take care of that. It just reminded me of Bruce Almighty, that movie where he was given the right to, the power to answer everybody's prayer, and he said yes to everybody who wanted to win the lottery. So a $200 million lottery, everyone received about $1.50. It really didn't accomplish the task, and it really made it out to look ridiculous to just say yes to what everybody wanted. The scenario we're in here is, I'm torn because I'm listening to some of our body say that they'll listen and they'll answer policy questions, they'll answer process questions, neither of which are on the agenda. But that's what they'll answer, and they won't respond to anything else, which in essence makes the comment no different than if someone's going to speak in public comment. So I don't really see the difference between doing that, other than that we would be being disrespectful to staff and professionals who represent them that have asked for the opportunity to come here and represent their members of our staff that we employ. And if we look at the overall impact of what that would do, I guess I'm the one to blame because I'm the one who put it on the agenda in the first place. And I could have simply taken all the heat and just said, no, I'm not putting it on the agenda. But I wanted to give the individuals the opportunity to be here. I wanted to give them the opportunity to be heard through the process. And that process would have included, and usually includes, our staff member being represented by a union representation or by an attorney of their own choosing or something of that nature. So when those requests came in, as an attorney myself, and I know that Adam probably has done it in his practice, when those requests come, it's given as courtesy. One of the two individuals that are here to speak tonight and here on our agenda was offered the opportunity to be on the agenda at our workshop earlier this month and chose not to be because Dr. Andrade wasn't going to be here. So there was already an opportunity and one person asked for it to be postponed at their request. I'm not really sure how it's inappropriate to now continue it at the request of someone that's going to be spoken about. But having said that, I've said my piece and I think it's time unless anyone else has any comment. There's
Can I ask one more clarifying? And maybe this is for Attorney Andrew. I thought during public comment, if someone had a specific question about policy, we could answer that question in a public comment. It was just we couldn't take action.
The general rule that this body has always followed is that you typically won't interact because you could generate a conversation based on an item that wasn't properly advertised. I mean, on occasion, we've had people respond on a simple yes or no or refer to this policy, but as a general rule, the reason that you don't respond to the public comment is because then the body could start discussing an issue that wasn't properly noticed.
But if someone asked a specific question, like, is today Monday, this body could answer that question.
Yes, or when the next meeting is, yes. All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor to continue agenda item number 8 to our next meeting, which would be, before I say our next November workshop. Karen, do you know the exact date of that? Is it the 13th?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it would be November 13th, that's a
Mr.
Tuesday
Chair?
night.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could you ask for a hand vote, please?
Yes, sir. There's a motion on the table I'm on the floor to continue item number 8 until our school committee workshop on November 13th. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed? So we're going to continue on with the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
understanding and respecting the members of the school committee, my colleagues, and understanding where they're coming from, I can't, in good conscience, sit at this table and risk the children or the parents or our employees from coming under undue scrutiny. So while this meeting goes on, I will absent myself from this table for this discussion, and I will come back when we're ready to work on superintendent's recommendations and issues. Excuse me?
Mr. Chair,
Please keep the heckling down.
continue, Mr. Chair.
This is,
You wish to leave? then
So-
leave. Mr. Chair, can you ask what you just said?
We don't know who's like it yet.
the motion failed.
He doesn't, I have the right to do as I please.
Right.
I have the right to get up and leave or stay. And you have a duty and a need to be quiet until it's your turn
Mr. Chair, I
to
did
talk.
not address you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I
Yeah,
addressed
okay,
you.
listen, so I'm going to do this slightly out of sequence because I do know that there are two representatives here that actually represent some of the parties in question, and I think that it might behoove us to hear from them and what their view is before we go forward and listen to the parents who are on our agenda. So if I can ask Alexis Santoro. Alexis. She also had requested to speak in public comment, but I know Alexis, you're here for Council 94, is that correct?
I am.
All right, so I'm assuming you listened to the discussion that took place, and I know that it was kind of a last minute thing thrown on you because you asked for the matter to be postponed, and the majority of the school committee apparently decided not to grant your request. So I thought I would be courteous enough to let you say what you want to say before we go any further.
We actually asked that it be put into executive session. Put it in
Speak
executive
into the
session
microphone.
pursuant to the general law, Rhode Island General Law, section 42-46-2. Then put into closed session into executive session. So it also violates the collective bargaining agreement to talk about the person's performance or job performance in their open forum.
So you're asking that any comment that's going to be made that involves a member of your union be done in executive session?
That's correct.
All right, so, Dr. Andrew, do you know which one that, is that one or, that's one or both? I believe it's only one. I believe it's only one.
It's one.
Okay,
One.
okay. And do you have anything else you want?
That's it.
Right. Okay, thank you. Let me, Chris Cobley? Chris, if you don't mind. Chris, I know that you are an NEA rep.
That's correct.
Correct? So, and again, as I just said to Alexis, that I'm assuming you listened to the discussion and you're aware of what's here. And again, I know that it was something that was kind of last minute thrown at you.
That's correct.
And your comments came as quickly as you could make them through our council and whatnot. So I'd like to give you the opportunity to say whatever it is you're looking to at this point to.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I think I would just echo what Ms. Santoro has just said. This is a situation in which we are going to be discussing personnel matters, and pursuant to Rhode Island law, there is a right to have those matters heard in executive session. So I would echo what my colleague from Council 94 has indicated, which is these matters really should be heard in executive session rather than in open session.
Thank you. So, having heard that, those comments and those requests, I guess I have to ask the school committee if we're going to go forward with agenda item number 8, if the request has been made by representatives of the staff that will be discussed to hold this discussion in executive session. So in order for that to transpire, I would need a motion to go into executive session, and then I would assume we would invite the representative and the individual who wants to give us the comment into the executive session so that that discussion can take place there.
Mr. Silva, may I ask a question before you do that? If there are no names used of staff members or anyone connected to this, there are no names used, can these parents still have their say in public?
Mrs. Ramachaitis, I'm going to answer you because, you know, I definitely love the fact that you come and you do it so frequently, and I'll give you the courtesy. The reality is the request that came to me included names. I asked that question and I was told that the names would be used. And the list was listed there. I asked to be informed of the individuals so I could inform them, and the response I was given was it's in the documentation I sent to you. So the request for it to be put on an agenda was because it included names of individuals. And if that's going to take place, the people who are being named have the right to be represented and have that heard in someplace other than an open session. And our policy in essence, dictates that we must do it in an executive session as well.
And I understand that, but from what I have heard from these parents, I don't believe they're going to be using names at this meeting tonight. They want to express their feelings in public for everyone to hear.
And that could be done in a public comment forum as well.
It could.
It could, but it was placed on an agenda because of what they requested and how they requested it. So I can't say, I can't have an agenda item go forward and then in good conscience stop them from what they're doing publicly when they told me they were going to do it. So if
People are not allowed to change their mind in the heat of the moment, are they not allowed to rethink their original thought and be civil and not use any names?
I'm not saying they're not.
And you certainly have the option at that point of saying, excuse me, you may no longer speak. You have that option at that time, correct?
I do.
Yes, that's what I thought. So I think that these parents deserve to talk in public tonight. I think it's interesting.
Linda, I don't, as I started when I said before, one of the easiest things I can do is say yes to anybody that comes in front of me. And if I do that, I'm just telling the two people who stood up here no. And you can say to me, they don't work here, they don't live here. They represent someone who does work here, and someone that if you were an employee here and you were looking for that courtesy to be extended to you and it wasn't, you would be hard pressed to tell me who would come and take your place when your rights were not taken into consideration. So I'm looking to avoid it too,
I'm
Linda.
not finished yet, Mr. Chairman. It's interesting that you let representatives of staff members speak first without giving parents the chance who represent the children here.
Linda, listen, you and I can debate all night because we've done it before. But the reality is, and you know this as well, I gave them the right to speak because they represent someone who I was told was going to be mentioned. And if I did it the other way around, it would be putting the cart in front of the horse instead of the horse in front of the cart. I have looked around the room, Mr. Ramachaitis, and it's fine. I'm dealing with the issues as they're presented to me. These parents still have the right to stand and speak during public comment. They don't have to go into an executive session. They don't want to, they can withdraw the request. But the request that came to me was a request to speak about certain individuals in front of the school committee. I'm willing to give them what they asked for. And if they're not looking for that, they can withdraw the request, okay? And we can consider a different one. But right now, I was asked for permission to speak and address the school committee about certain individuals and the actions they took as staff members of this school district. And I was asked that, and I was trying to accommodate it. So anybody who created this is me. So there are 8 people up here, they want to complain about the uncomfortable position they're in. It's my fault because I'm adhering to a request of the parents that you're talking about, despite the fact that everybody's out there telling me that I want to shut them up. Because I'm not looking to shut anybody up, okay? But I have to go by the request that was made because that's what's on my agenda.
You bring this matter to executive session for these parents to speak. You are effectively shutting them up to the public.
No, ma'am, I'm giving them what they asked for. They asked for an opportunity to speak to the school committee, and I'm giving them the opportunity. They can withdraw that request and speak in public comment. But they cannot ask for something, and then when I give it to them in the way that the law and the rules require me to give it to them, complain that they got it that way. They can withdraw the request and then we don't do it at all that way, and it can be done as a public comment forum. They can stand at that podium and tell us whatever they want to tell us.
But we would be limited to the time that we have to speak in the public forum, because I have 8 months of something to speak about.
You'd be limited to in the time you have regardless of which way it goes, because even when we have an administrator that does a presentation in front of us, their time is limited that they're given at the podium to speak to us. There's not something that we sit here and just listen for hours on end as to what has or hasn't taken place, or what is or isn't going on. Those are also some of the things that we operate under, so that we can.
We've been listening to you for a very long time now.
Oh, absolutely, you have. You have. And you know something, and that's fine. You don't have to if you don't want to. You don't have to be here to listen to me, but I've now gotten a request by people who represent individuals that I was told were going to be spoken about, and I need to know if the school committee is going to do that in executive session or not. The individuals who want to do the speaking don't have to come into the executive session, and we can come back out afterwards and get on with public comment as soon as we're done. That's purely up to them. But
Excuse me, Chairperson Silver. I'm looking at the line though, and in it says, relative to complaint about staff and administration, nowhere does it say by name. So if no names are mentioned, and it's referred to blatantly as staff or child, why should there be an issue?
I definitely agree that I will omit all names, unlike what was given to me in my child's file where there were other minors' names given. I will omit the names.
And you're more than welcome to do that at that podium. You've filled out one of these forms and I'll let you do it. I'm not telling you you can't. I'm merely saying that the request that came to me came with a list of names. Just like when I look at personnel on my agenda, it doesn't say one name there, yet when we vote on it, there will be people whose names are attached to that action. And we all know that they're there. These names were given to me when the request was made. They were asked specifically whether or not if there were going to be people mentioned, I need to know who they are so I can give notice to them. And that request was responded to. I'm trying to adhere to the rules and the process that I have to follow. Whether I like it or I don't like it, those are the rules. And I have to deal with them. I've now been requested by representatives of 2 of the unions that represent 400 people employed here. And I have to worry about those 400 people that are employed here and whether or not this school committee is going to support the staff that's here as well when their representation has asked us to do it in closed session. So I'm looking to know if I'm going to get a motion to go into executive session so we can bring the parent in there to give their comments to us. If they choose not to come, then that part of the discussion will be concluded very quickly, and we can come back out and deal with public comment.
So moved.
Mr. Chairman?
So I got a motion to go into executive session from Mrs. Campbell,
Mr. Chairman,
by
one
Mr.
clarification.
And any discussion.
When were they notified? When was the
Excuse me,
coming
please sit down.
I'm just asking, when were they notified?
Please sit down. Thank you. There's a
When were they
motion
notified?
made and
For the
seconded.
record.
Any discussion on the motion?
I have a question.
Yes.
If this committee voted to bring the are you suggesting that we're voting to bring the parents who are here to speak?
The parent that asked to speak to us into the executive session. Not the entire group.
There are 2 parents, right?
One at a time, yes.
So if they don't want to do that,
And they don't have to, and that item would be.
I know, can I just finish my question?
Yeah.
Only because I'm just trying to get something out. If the people who are here to speak do not want to do this in executive session,